Welcome back. We are here with Etel today. So excited for our episode. Today, we're going to focus on actually mitochondria health and what in the world does that have to do with our overall well-being, our body's ability to regulate the hormones, the nervous system, cellular repair, and so many different things. So, welcome, Etel. Would you say hi and then share your knowledge with us?
Howdy, folks. Yeah, I am. I'm excited to be here again. I every time, like we say this, is I feel like it's just such a long time. So, anyways, but this is good.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really good topic because I feel like people need to know a little bit more. If you've been doing all the things and you're still feeling crummy, it might be the mitochondria needing some repair. And so that's one of my favorite topics because that's kind of what happened with me. And, finding out that I needed more than just surface healing. We had to get to the root, and it was the cells. It was the cells, the mitochondria that needed to be repaired. And little did we know, right? That's the powerhouse of the cells. So, anyways, I can't wait to talk about this right now.
Yeah, I'm on the same page there with you because I have seen with so many of my clients, especially women, as we get into our 30s, 40s, 50s, so on and so forth, right? Just time and age and wear and tear has an impact on the cells, the mitochondria, creating just damage and inflammation and all kinds of things. We've got a lot of environmental toxins these days. That's a whole other episode we can go into, but just
Mhm.
all the things we go outside, there's the pollution, there's all the cleaning chemicals and synthetics and all, air fresheners, all the things, the beauty products, even soaps and lotions. Don't get me started on that. And
Mhm.
then, of course, additives in the foods and all of these things, they kind of add up. Over time, it really
Yep.
does affect the mitochondria to the point that the inflammation is so much, they start dysfunctioning. And like you said, they're the powerhouse. So we'll explain if you're like, well, what in the world is mitochondria? What are we talking about? Um, this is like fourth grader. You're smarter than a fourth grader. That's what mitochondria, we learned about that way back then. So that's basically little powerhouses in our cells. They're in every cell and every system. And what they do is they help repair our DNA. They help with our cell repair. They help with our cellular energy.
Mhm.
And they help our body actually process the nutrients coming in and use
Yep.
them more effectively.
Mhm.
So, like you said, I've seen so many people that have, all kinds of different things, everything from autoimmune to just, allergies or whatever, where they're doing all the exercise, they're, taking all kinds of vitamins, they're drinking the water, they're doing, the detoxes, they're doing all these things and not really seeing the results that they would like, or the results aren't lasting very long. And part
Yeah.
of that is because of the mitochondria.
Yeah, and so I guess in these times we can compare it to a cell phone maybe. So when your cell phone is on 10% battery, it's not going to operate properly. And it's the same with our body. If our mitochondria isn't functioning, well then our body isn't going to function properly if we're only operating at 10%. And it's then that, truly like I've thought about that when our body is not functioning, our heart, because everything needs it, right? Our heart, our muscles, every single part of us needs it. It needs the mitochondria to work properly. And, people just kind of, when people have been on certain nutritional diets, or they've been taking supplements, or they're like, well, I'm doing creatines, I'm doing BCAAs, I'm taking all the good vitamins, methylated vitamins, I'm getting my sleep, I'm exercising, I'm have enough hydration. But if there's something off about your body, then it's just probably because you're not absorbing the nutrients, because again, your cells need to be repaired. So, yeah, I mean, it's such a fun topic, but it's also one of those topics that I feel gets overlooked because people just want to have like quick surface fixes sometimes. And I'm guilty of it. I thought I was checking off all the boxes and doing all the right things when I really wasn't. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I
yeah.
like that analogy of a battery too that you said, or a cell phone. But yeah, like our mitochondria are basically the battery of our cells that keep it
Mhm.
going.
Mhm.
And when they're not working, when there's an issue, that
Yep.
system is going to have an issue, and it can show up in lots of different ways. I was just actually teaching a seminar on this, and I mean, the list can go from digestive issues to skin issues to inflammatory, things and headaches to disrupted sleep to disrupted hormones and cycles and libido and all of that to even mood disruptions and issues, fluctuations with the mood, irritability, all of those things, bloating and inflammation and the puffiness, the, water retention, if you will, those kinds of things. And the reason is because they're throughout the system and they affect so many different things. So, would you share with us what have you learned that has really helped with mitochondria support and repair?
As far as you mean like what I've done to help it or
Yeah, what has helped? Yeah.
well, so there's a couple of things, I did mention like nutrition and things like that. But when I started, okay, well, I feel like you know what I'm going to talk about. So when I started some specific products to help, it basically aligned my organs. And so now it's like my body is absorbing everything properly. And, I'm taking the reverse, which has helped to repair and restore my mitochondria. And what I started to learn about how much damage can be done when you don't repair that, it can impact you in ways like Alzheimer's, heart disease, like there's, chronic diseases, autoimmune diseases, because it doesn't start with that necessarily, but it's everything else. So then I realized that stress and all of those things that impact your body, being in fight or flight mode, can impact your mitochondria. And therefore, it can turn into something far worse. And so when I started using, the rise and the source and the reverse, I started feeling such a huge difference with that alone. With just that alone, mind you, I did the nutritional side. So, I eat right. I eat lots of antioxidants. I make sure that I meet all my macros, and I study holistic and autoimmune nutrition. So I know that portion of it, that I have to get specific vitamins and minerals into my system so that my organs are hydrated, my body is hydrated, and I'm helping all of my organs and my brain health too.
Mhm.
And movement definitely is something that helps me. So I'm in the gym 6 days a week. I make sure that I'm hydrated. At least half your body weight is what I always recommend to people. But if you're drinking energy drinks or you're taking, medications or supplements, you always want to add a couple ounces more to that. So that your body's nice and hydrated because, also your skin is technically the last organ that gets the hydration from the water because your organs from within, right? Your major organs are going to get the hydration first. And of course, sleep is really important. Making sure that that I take some time outside. I've been going outside, just enjoying, indulging the sun before fall comes. So making
Yeah.
sure that I'm doing that and just getting some sun, some just natural vitamin D. Um, so that's something else. And then just trying to learn how to manage stress. Especially right now, it's a very busy time for me. So, I have a daughter that's about to get married. And so, that can be a little stressful, but, just
Yeah.
learning how to manage stress. I think managing stress is so important, whether that's, writing in a book or getting some gym time. I don't know, but those are just a couple of things. And like I said, the vitamins and minerals and nutrients.
Yeah, I love that. It is so true that certain key nutrients are really, really important, like the omega-3s, your antioxidants. Certain aminos can really make a big difference, or BCAAs. There's different ways of describing them. And your just high antioxidant foods, like your rich leafy greens, your dark fruits and vegetables like your berries. Make sure you're getting clean, organic and wash them. We don't want the pesticides and everything because those are going to cause issues, right? But I love that you sh also shared that we can't absorb those things unless we address what is happening at that mitochondria cellular level. So I know we kind of mentioned how the mitochondria is like the battery, but how do we keep that battery charged? Some of it is the nutrients, like you said, and some of it is, you mentioned like getting outside and nature, right? The sun, the ground. What are those things? Those are actually biofrequency supports for our body, that our body was naturally designed. You were sharing how like it keeps your body fine-tuned to the right levels, right? That's what we need to do to recharge those batteries in our cells and promote the repair. So if you have heard of grounding, that is the magnetic force of the earth, right? That's a natural frequency, and there's lots of clinical data out there about that. The same thing with the sunlight, especially the morning red light of the sun. Tons of benefits. We're starting to learn more and more about that. Well, you also referred to the supplements. There's certain supplements that were recently released, and I find it so incredibly interesting how they've been able to bring together the power and the healing benefits of some of those same biofrequencies, like the Schumann resonance, the grounding resonance that supports our nervous system, helps with that stress and that inflammation and everything, as well as several other ones. There's actually 11 different ones in there that are recharging the mitochondria, if you will, simply put. I mean, it's a lot more scientific than that, but basically, biofrequency support like that is helping the little electrons. So we've got, let's say the liver, for example, we've got the liver, and then we got the molecules of the liver. Inside there, we have the mitochondria. And then we go an even deeper level, we've got the little tiny electrons, protons, neutrons, right? And what is happening with those electrons? That's the biofrequency of that organ or that system. So when we have that biofrequency support, like the grounding and all those other ones, what it's doing is it's charging that on a molecular level so the mitochondria can function. Just to kind of explain for those that might not know. And I find that really incredibly interesting because I've worked with so many clients who are like, I'm eating the right things, I'm exercising, I'm taking these I'm doing my omegas, I'm doing my greens, I'm doing these things, I'm doing the smoothies, all the things, and cutting out all the junk, getting rid of all the toxins, all the things, and they're not losing the weight, or they're still struggling with the insulin resistance or the hormone
Yep.
imbalance or whatever it is.
Yep.
And when they actually start working on this type of cellular repair with the biofrequency support and the mitochondria, we start seeing everything changes. So
Yep.
would you
And
share like kind of a comparison of how, what were you experiencing before you started doing that and now kind of where you're at and how you're feeling?
yeah, while you were talking about that, I started thinking back, right? Because what people don't understand, like with my journey, it's been, before I started really, really getting to the root and repairing the cells and just finding different ways to release everything that was happening to me. What most people don't understand is that when you are under chronic stress, it floods your body with cortisol. And so for me, I was producing the cortisol at night because I was having the worst anxiety attacks would come at nighttime, really, really bad. So I was only sleeping about, 3 hours. And when you're under that trauma, that chronic stress, your body, it cannot separate emotional stress from cellular health. So, basically it doesn't just affect your mind, it affects your
Mhm.
cells. So when I started to heal emotionally, when I started doing the grounding and just, you know, repairing my cells, and the frequencies were helping to align and help me to heal naturally. When that started, happening, it was as if my nervous system calmed down. I was able to release the inflammation. My body wasn't holding on to all of the stress, all of the cortisol. So then my levels, right, because of the frequencies, the biofrequencies, because of the healing that was happening naturally, the cortisol, was level, the inflammation went down, me mentally, all the things were aligning naturally. So therefore, that's what happened with me. And, it's literally like night and day. Like I look back at you know, all of the pictures from before and, it's just, I wish that people understood that holistic healing is just so different. We can turn to medicine, yes. Like I would never tell somebody don't, because I'm not a doctor. I can't cure anybody. I can't diagnose anyone. But for me, I did all the things. I did the diets, I did the meds, I did the doctors, the scans. And so now finding this method, it's helped me just differently. And when I had suffered or struggled for so long, to find something that's helped me from within, and the cells of all things, right? It's just, I'm just blown away. Like I wish, I could go back to that time and like even I was looking at other pictures too way back in the day, and there were some days that I had great skin, I looked like I was extremely happy. I looked really healthy overall, but I was also doing the hormonal therapy. I was on medications, and I was just trying to do like quick fixes. And it did, in a sense, help me, right? The hormonal therapy and things like that, they do help, but it wasn't doing what it truly needed. And that
On
was
the
to,
surface, it was helping, but
yeah,
not.
on surface, yeah. Like, I would always get complimented left and right about my skin and the no wrinkles and you look great and all these, and I'm like, yeah, thank you. However, I knew within that I was exhausted. I was mentally exhausted. I was depleted mentally, emotionally, physically, everything. And so, yeah, now it's just, I don't know. It's like you can't just throw supplements at your cells. You really do have to listen to your body,
Yeah.
really take the time to just look at your life in general, and just ask yourself, okay, what do I truly need to change? What changes do I need to make with my health, with my life? And sometimes it really just take that, it just takes you really assessing the situation in order for you to realize what your body truly needs.
Yeah, I like how you shared about that because what's going on with the mental health, and like you said, holistic healing is a completely different concept than what we're sort of used to or what we've kind of grown up with. That really what we're looking at is understanding that connection between the mental, physical, and emotional. That's why I do what I do now with my clients because in our modern healthcare, there's a time and a place for certain things. Absolutely, like you said, and there's nothing wrong if you feel like you need medicine or whatever, but um it probably isn't really healing the deeper level. It might help for a little while, but again, we want to support the healing with the emotional piece, the mental part of it, and then the nervous system. And then also the physical part of it with the cellular healing. And when you bring those things together, it's extremely powerful. I like how you mentioned the mental health because so many people are in that place, and I've been in that place as well, where you look great. People would never know, right? That you're suffering underneath because of whatever the reason is. It could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be stress, it could be trauma. And finding that healing is so, so important. So we're here for you if you're listening and you're like, that's me. Please connect. We can provide support, encouragement, resources, things that are going to help you in that journey. And as you begin that process, you can also learn ways of regulating the nervous system because, like you said, we want to get out of that fight or flight. We want to re-regulate that rhythm so the cortisol is not high at night. So we got to get that controlled. We have to support the right balance. And some of it is our daily routine. Some of it is our nervous system, and some of it is just the stress and finding
Yeah.
ways to deal with that. And we can't make all stress disappear, obviously, but there are ways of finding a balance that works for you. And then your body can use those important nutrients that you're going to use and maybe supplements and things that are going to support you in the right way. So yeah, mental health, so important. Mental emotional well-being, that's a huge piece of the puzzle. And I feel like that's a missing link. And obviously therapy is important too. So please make sure you find a good therapist if that's something that you need. But there is a link between the mental and physical that I think sometimes gets missed, which is why we have these discussions.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. What I didn't realize, it took me having to, I don't want to say that I hit rock bottom, but it took me having to say, okay, none of this that I've been doing for over 20 years is working. So I had to really reassess everything that I was doing. And our cells, they're constantly trying to repair, constantly. But if they don't have the energy, if they don't have the support, right? If they're not being supported the proper way, they're not going to heal. So, it's something that has to be done, and having something that helps it assists the repair is always so important. And again, like for us, it's we understand the side of, connecting the two. We now have realized that the emotional trauma, the emotional stress, the chronic fatigue, all of those things do correlate to what happens in our body from within. And so, now that I have gained that perspective, I think of things differently. Now I shifted the mentality of, is this truly worth me stressing over? Can this situation wait a little bit? Um, how can I help my body to heal and just feel, like to where I don't have to freak out about something, or because any little thing does damage to our bodies, whether we like it or not, And so that's why we have to make sure that we're doing all the right things, have the key nutrients, like you said, the magnesiums, the potassiums, the vitamins, like the B vitamin, vitamin D, things like that. So important. The grounding, even the LED helps too with
Red light.
kind of making our bodies just chill out a little bit. It helps us to kind of get, it helps with better sleep as well. So just implementing those things. And I feel like a lot of people now, they're very familiar, especially, people that are concerned over their skin and, the collagen production and stuff. They already do the red LED masks. Some people just do it for cosmetic reasons, but little do they know they're helping their body out too to, calm down a
That's
little
really
bit.
good for the mitochondria too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So if you need guidance and recommendations on kind of where to start, or maybe just a list of the top few things to start with to support that well-being, the mental health piece of it, the nervous system, and the mitochondria, we have some things that can help you. We've have experience, lots of experience as well on how to heal and restore and sort of rebalance. So definitely connect with us. And one thing that recently we went to a conference and I remember one of the speakers, she's an author, and she said that our body is constantly resonating what's going on with our mind and our emotions. And that's such a good kind of picture because I picture like, drops in some water, right? And it's rippling out. And that is whatever's going on with our mental and our emotional. It's resonating, it's rippling out through our body systems, so to speak. And she said the average person has about 200 unprocessed emotions going on in their system, their nervous system, their mind, their body, and we don't even realize it just because of life. I mean, no one is exempt from life problems and some type of stress,
No,
right?
we are
So
not. And it's so funny because and I hopefully I don't get too off topic, but uh for a while, recently I had a terrible, mind you, I haven't had one like this in a very long time, but I was just feeling extremely stressed. And I was walking outside and I just felt like, I was about to get a really terrible anxiety attack, panic attack. I was outside walking. I was filming, right? I'm doing my stories on Instagram and and I'm like talking and I'm just sharing about just the day and all of a sudden I felt it and I was like, hold on, this is not normal because I haven't felt that in such a long time. And so the first thing I did was I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a deep breath. I kept walking and I took off my shoes. I just, planted my feet on the ground. I stayed there for about 5 minutes. Like I put my phone away. I'm like, I don't need this phone. It's not even worth it. I put my phone away and I did that. And then I jumped into a cold shower because the cold showers, cold plunges are actually really good for your body as well, for your cells too. So I did that and it was crazy because my heart rate at that time was like, it jumped up to like 133, 135 beforehand. And when I did the cold shower, it went all the way down to like 87. And which is typically me, I'm between 60 to 80 for the most part with my heart rate. And and it's like, and it just kind of brought me back down. And it's, now that I understand my body more, now I'm finding different methods versus uh just trying to do a quick fix. And it's so that's what that really helped me. I just had to throw that out there because,
Yeah.
that's something that, we truly do not realize that there are more natural
Ways.
ways to just help our bodies and mentally, emotionally, like just to
Yeah.
help ourselves. Like it's so crazy what a quick cold plunge or just what standing outside does to you mentally and emotionally, for me personally. And
Yeah.
now I feel like it's so silly. I don't want to say silly, but I'm just blown away because since Dallas, I feel like my sorry, I have source on my on my phone. I caught me off guard. But I feel like I've been just more mellow and I feel just so happy from within. We had like this really good prayer here at our home after we came back from Dallas. We had this prayer with our family. And like you mentioned, when there's stuff happening, the cortisol and all the things, right? Our skin reflects it. And now it's like even my skin is reflecting how I feel inside and how like I just feel this like a huge peace, like a huge calm. I can't explain it, but I have been getting complimented on my skin, right? And so I try to tell people that it's really we have ways, right, to assist our bodies, assist our cells, assist everything that's happening from within, and it's going to reflect on our skin, the way that we act. So yeah, I just feel like it's all tied into each other, but like we're talking about mitochondria, but at the
Yeah.
same time,
It's
it's
linked.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like everything's just linked together. And I feel like God did it that way. God just created everything
Yeah.
to be able to sync with one another. So our we sync with what's happening with the earth. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, I hope I'm making sense.
It's all, everything has a rhythm, right? Our body
Yes,
and
yes,
nature,
everything.
and
Yes.
it's like, art or music or however you
Hmm.
want to say it.
Yeah,
And it all kind of synchronizes together when things are in
yeah,
the right balance, right?
yeah.
So obviously it can be a little bit of a journey and a process to figure that out for each person,
Hmm.
but when you do, it resonates, like you said, that peace, that joy, that hope, all of that because on a deeper level, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, there's the proper balance and the
Yeah,
harmony that's going
yeah,
on, and that's going to resonate, that's going to reflect, that's going to shine through
yeah.
because of that healing, really, right? Which is
Mhm.
incredible. And all the glory
Yeah.
to God because it's his original design. We're just figuring out how to find it, how to help support
Literally,
in this
I
crazy
know.
world we live in with all the
I
things. So
know. And it's so crazy because you have how many kids do you have again?
four.
You have four. You have your own practice. You manage to do all of the things, and you are still killing it with podcasts and just doing everything. And you still manage to be like this calm little, you all, if y'all ever meet Miriam in person, the first time I met you, and you're just like this little, like you're shorter than me, and it's hard to find people shorter than me because I'm short. I'm like,
Yep.
then
Yep.
here comes little Miss Miriam walking up, little Miss Petite Miriam, and I'm like, how is this little girl just such? Anyways, it just blows my mind because you manage just to manage all of that and still teach people, still, educate and help other people, and then still keep it together yourself. I'd be all over the place. I'd be like, oh, like, what do I do? So, anyways, I just had to throw that out there. Like,
It's a
you just,
balance. It's about everything's a
you,
balance. And obviously people say like, how do I don't know how you do all you do? Well, number one, Jesus, hello, and then obviously husband helps and, learning to delegate and learning to not be a perfectionist. And you know what's so funny? We can talk about more of this next time because we'll have to wrap up today. But is what the beginning of my journey was God teaching me that everything didn't have to be perfect and it was okay to be messy or make mistakes and how to grow through, every mistake is a learning opportunity, right? That was sort of the beginning of my process. And because he started with that, I've been able to do a lot more than I ever would have before because in the past I would have just gotten stuck because it wasn't perfect enough or it wasn't good enough or it wasn't whatever and I would have just been on this loop of just being stuck. Now he's taught me to where I just grow through and I'm like, yeah, it's not perfect. That's okay. I did the best that I could with the time and ability. That's all right. We can just keep moving forward and we do what we feel like we're supposed to do and God will help with the rest. And it's
yeah,
okay. And we
yeah,
learn when to let go of things. Letting go is part of that process. We let go of some things and we prioritize the things that are important and we just have to.
yeah. Well, that is one thing God is definitely teaching me because I am a huge perfectionist, and I feel like I've said it on one of our podcasts before. I am a major perfectionist, and I am still learning.
It's a
Like
challenge.
even, yeah,
Yeah.
even just, knowing that I can't control everything. And even though like today I was like, I gotta clean, I gotta do all these things, but I also knew that I had to do lots of studying. I knew I had like other things, like other priorities. So learning that I have to let go and not control every situation. Oh man, oh man. I'll tell you what, and let
We
me
should do
tell
an
you,
episode on that. We gotta do an episode called Let It Go.
let it go. Seriously, that would be like, I feel like every mom would tune in because let me tell you, sometimes you just
Yeah.
don't want to let it go. And I am, even with my daughter's, upcoming wedding here in a couple of months, and I just want to take control over all of it. And I'm like, Jesus, just help me not to take control
Take the
because the
wheel.
perfectionist in me, I want to do everything and I know I can't. And so, anyways, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am so glad we were able to do this and chat a little bit about the mitochondria and just the importance. I feel like every person needs to be educated on it because again, if you are listening or watching, and you're checking off all those boxes and you just still can't seem to get it together, I would highly encourage you to take a look at that. Like highly encourage you to maybe try to start healing from within and start repairing the cells. That's my recommendation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the body heals when the nervous system feels safe, right? Which is what we talked about. So, all
Yeah.
right. Well, we look forward to next time and we'll talk again soon.